Charlotte, North Carolina is known for its rich history and dynamic art scene. Today on Homeworthy, we're touring 3 of the city's stunning homes, from a traditional bungalow to one bursting with maximalist decor and another that expertly blends textures and colors. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Cheryl. Welcome to my home in North Carolina. I'm so happy you're here. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Thank you to Serena and Lily for sponsoring today's episode.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Luckett, owner and principal designer of Dwell by Cheryl Interiors. We are at my bungalow in the burbs outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been here for about 17 years and this is my home. So I purchased this home in 2007. It was my first single family home. Prior to that, I owned a condo. And this was really my first real big girl house, and I absolutely love it. Fell in love with it from the very beginning. I was looking for something that had a yard, that had a garage, that had enough space for me and all my things. But I kind of knew that it would be a place that I would be for a while, and this just really checked all the boxes. You can imagine over the past 17 years, style has certainly evolved. When I moved in, I was not an interior designer. I worked in corporate America as a registered dietitian, but I always had that little knack for DIY and kind of nesting, and this place has been my laboratory. It's where my business was born. It's where I've made a whole lot of design mistakes and corrections, and I feel like today it is my happy place for sure. So this is my front porch. It really serves as kind of an extended living area for me. I remember during COVID, it was so nice because I have kind of a neighborhood where people walk on the sidewalks, and I remember swinging in the swing and, you know, finishing up work at a reasonable hour and having a cool beverage on the front porch. I kind of miss those days, but that said, the space is a really great space for just kind of chilling on a nice day. I've got a porch swing on this side and then some rocking chairs on the other side, and it really does pretty well in the elements. Every now and then, from time to time, I need to spruce things up. This year I've done that with a few items from Serena and Lily. I love this new side table that I have that kind of serves as a place to put a drink when I'm hanging out on the front porch. I've got kind of a larger scale front door mat that's also from Serena and Lily, and I finish things off with a couple of throw pillows in the rocking chairs. Just really makes it have more of a living indoor feel than an outdoor space, and I think it entices you to use it a little bit more than you might typically. Welcome to the entry of my home. I am a girl who believes in function first. And as you can tell, it's a small space and I don't have a true entry. And so I decided to create one by floating the sofa here and creating this small corridor. I was able to situate an entry table here that packs a lot of function in a really small space. So I've got a vintage console table that I actually got on Facebook Marketplace. It just had those classic lines and details that I like so much. And I knew that I wanted a place to house all my winter weather accessories. I live in North Carolina, so you can imagine I don't use those all that frequently. But this is where all of my hats and scarves and gloves live. And it's just a convenient place to keep them as you're heading out the front door. Of course, as an interior designer, you want those styled moments. And so I've got my books and a few of my favorite pieces of art positioned here. This is actually from one of my favorite shops in Charlotte from a fellow designer here, Dress My Room Interiors. I love this vase. I often have flowers in it. And then, of course, it's essential at an entry to have a mirror to check yourself as you're leaving. So I've got a mirror here, a really interesting lamp, a place to put coats and umbrellas. And it's a small space, but it really does function well for me. I added a custom cut rug that was made out of carpet that I actually got at the Habitat Restore. And so I had I think an 8-foot runner fashioned out of this carpet remnant that I got. And I just love it. I've had it for years. It totally functions so well. And it gives me an entry point to my bungalow. So here we have just a random find. I love a chair. I'm an upholstery girl, so it's hard for me to miss out on purchasing a really good chair. So this is a classic Louis dining chair that I picked up, I think, at an outlet in Atlanta. And I didn't really have a place for it. It's kind of moved around from place to place. And I've just decided to position it here alongside the console table. And it's a really good place for you to change your shoes or take them off or take them on. And I've got my little monogram pillow because I'm a Southern girl and that's what we do. So this is just an addition that finishes off the space pretty nicely. So as we make our way into the living space, the main living space, again, it's not large at all, but it totally functions for me. I've got a sofa here that's covered in Revolution Performance fabric. I have a collection with them. And I'm a big believer in performance fabric. So although I do have a white sofa, it really stands the test of time in terms of stains and durability. And so I've had that for a while. Me and Coco love our sofa. We hang out here a lot. So I've got this piece that's actually a cottage sofa because I don't have a lot of space here. I went with a 78-inch sofa that fits really well in the space and still allows me to have a couple of chairs. Now, I am totally a vintage girl. So this chair was actually featured on my blog years ago. I found it at the Goodwill and I love the lines of it. And so I ended up covering it in this animal print, doing a contrasting welt on it. And I have my friends who are queued up for when I get ready to get rid of this chair. They are literally standing in line. So I've got that one chair, and then I have a wing chair in this corner that was also a vintage find that was reupholstered in this cute blush fabric. And I just love a wing chair because you can kind of, sit back, rest your head, kick your feet up on an ottoman. It's a really comfortable but also classic piece. And then I've got, I have a lamp collection with wildwood. So of course, in putting the space together, I wanted to incorporate some of the things that I designed. So this lamp is the savoir-faire lamp from my collection with wildwood. And then honestly, I end up with a lot of extra accessories from show house projects and client project leftovers, and oftentimes they end up in my home as decor. And so these boxes were in a show house, actually my very first show house in 2018. I did a men's closet, and so I've got a lot of kind of masculine looking accessories that are left over from that, which I absolutely love. And you know, these boxes are great for corralling random things. And I just like functionality, even for your remote controls. I've got mine in a glass box. They just look elevated and they still function for my TV that is hidden in this chest, this Asian chest that I believe was originally from Pier 1, but I found it also on Facebook Marketplace many moons ago, and it houses my TV inside. And so I like, it's not large. All of the men that come over talk about how small my TV is, but it's my TV, not theirs. But it's just fine for me, and it houses the TV, and I'm able to close it off, and I just appreciate that. Then, of course, we can't leave a space undecorated. I've taken the opportunity to kind of display some of my favorite things atop this cabinet. I've got the box that's also from my collection with wildwood, and I also have a little bird and a piece of art that I picked up in Paris at the flea market on my first trip there recently. And then again, just some kind of leftover project pieces that didn't work for somebody else but totally worked in my space. And I feel like these are the things that make my home feel so much like me. It's those nods to culture and femininity that really make it my own. One of the latest additions to this living space is actually the drapery. In 2020, I believe, I did a little spruce up in this space, and I knew I wanted to elevate the drapery, and so I had my eye on this black floral Brunswick and Fee print that I just absolutely love. It has butterflies, it's black, so it's kind of striking. I was able to find a discount retailer who had some yardage that I extended because I really wanted to incorporate it. And the panels just add a little softness, a little femininity, and that Southern classic traditional touch. One of the things about interfacing on social media on a regular basis is you find the best artists and artisans out there. One of my favorites is Angela, who makes these wooden ribbon pieces in all kinds of colors, and she hand paints them, and she does like releases around quarterly. I saw this walnut piece one holiday season and had to pick it up, literally set the alarm to be one of the first people when she dropped them. And originally I think I thought it was gonna be holiday decor, but I liked it so much we just leave it up year round. So I'm definitely a scent person, and I want my home to smell like home. I've recently made a change because last Christmas I got one of those hotel diffusers. It is currently in my show house space elsewhere, and so right now I'm back to candle burning. And the house scent is Laundry Day from Bath and Body Works. Me and Bath and Body Works go way back, but I definitely have my favorites, and this is one of them. So I've got some wallflowers and a coordinating candle that I like to burn. It just smells like you're doing laundry all day. We joke that I am the person who is most likely to put the most furniture in a space. I can't help myself. I just feel like it makes it cozy when there's a place for everybody to sit. I love to entertain, and most of my entertaining is casual. And so we end up being in those situations where you need a random stool, you need a little chair, you need to be able to pull out the ottomans that have your hat, scarves, and gloves in it for people to sit down. And so I end up having a lot of side tables and perches for things. I love plants, but I'm a classic girl, so I want my plants to be on plant stands. And so these are all vintage finds, antique malls, Goodwill, Habitat Restore. So it's just, you know, classic spindle, wood spindle legs, a marble top. I feel like that never goes out of style. So what I like about these is it gives me a place for the plant, but it also gives me a place to decorate on the bottom. So I've got a pair of those. I've got a stool that I got at a vintage sale that I had the top reupholstered. That serves as a footstool in this small space, but it also can be a seat in a pinch. In my space, I'm a pattern mixer. First of all, I love textiles. So any opportunity to upholster something, add drapery, add a pillow, I'm taking it. And so I love for all of those things to be different patterns. But I also like a calm space, so I'm less likely to use those patterns on the big pieces that are the foundation of the space. So you'll notice I've got a solid color rug. I've got a solid color sofa. I've got, you know, walls that are pretty neutral. And so at that point, it gives me a really good foundation to just start layering on pattern and color in a way that makes sense. So in this space, my color scheme was really kind of blush and black, grounded with some brown and neutral wood tones. And that just becomes the playbook for how to add those patterns together. So I've got multiple animal prints. I've got like a little dot that looks like a Dalmatian here. Got kind of a tiger-esque print, a cheetah. We've got the whole jungle in here, but it doesn't feel overwhelming because it's just small doses. And there's always a point of connectivity back to something else. And I think that's really the recipe. Find what is the through line and just make sure you keep going back to that with your additions. So one pillow is black, which ties back to the drapery. One pillow has the blush, which also ties back to the drapery and ties to the chair. We've got some African motifs that are mixed in. And so I've just kind of tried to sprinkle those in throughout so that in the end, when it's all done, it makes sense. You move into a home and the tendency is to want to do it all at once. You want everything just the way you want it today. For many of us, that's just not realistic. And so I think one of the things that I can appreciate now after being here for so long is the fact that I took my time and I did what I could when I could. For some rooms, that meant just putting some paint and buying some pretty pillows. For other rooms, that meant making them more of a priority and doing a whole custom closet because I needed that to function well right now today. And it has taken over a decade to get all of the things that I've wanted to do done. But I feel like what I would have done 10, 15 years ago would have changed anyway. So I don't have any regret about taking my time and doing it over time. So I don't feel like homeowners should feel rushed at all. You know, you can make small changes that make a big impact, and eventually when you're ready to blow it up, you can blow it up. So when I moved in, this space was originally designed to be a combo living dining area. I didn't need a formal dining space, and I made the conscious decision to kind of use this space on the other side of the room as a sitting area. Now, it has evolved over 17 years several times, but right now it houses a baby grand piano, which I'll tell you about. But the division point in the space is this peninsula fireplace. It's one of the things that was a huge selling point for me when I purchased the home. I love the idea of having this fireplace that comes off the wall. It's, you know, gas logs, and it kind of illuminates the space on both sides and really adds a lot of functionality. It did leave me with a space above that honestly I'm not 100% finished with. I'm thinking I'll probably one day add a built-in here, but right now it's just a place for me to collect baskets. Good girl. I absolutely love this dog bed. Coco just turned a year old a couple of weeks ago. She loves this Serena and Lily dog bed. It's super fluffy, so I feel like she feels a little like a princess up here. But it's a great spot for her to chill out while we're hanging out watching TV. So on the other side of that fireplace, we've got this piano that I actually acquired from my next door neighbors in 2020. They were downsizing and moving to a retirement village. They had this 45-year-old piano that they bought together when they first got married, and they were giving it away. And you know, we were stuck at home during the pandemic, and I thought, wouldn't this be a great time to learn how to play a free piano? And wouldn't this look great in my living space? And so I literally had movers move it from their house next door to mine. And it's 2024 and I still can't play the piano, but I like the idea of one day getting to that. So this is the piano area. We've got a kind of a chandelier above it, kind of grounded the space with a hide just to have some movement on this side of the room. And then I've got a banquet for my first licensed collection. It's a furniture piece that I designed next to a lamp from my collection with wildwood. And again, this is where I've added in some of those cultural moments that really speak to who I am as an individual, that make my house feel like home to me. So I actually found this piece of this textile, this African textile, rolled up at an antique mall in a booth. And I don't know, I think it may have been $30 or $40. And I texted a friend and I'm like, should I buy this? And she's like, are you kidding me? Yes. So I took it to my framer and we matted it on a board, framed it out, and it's probably one of my favorite things in the entire house. So I love that it's here. I love that it speaks to the lamp design here from my collection. And it has that vibe that I was going for, that is a counterpoint to the more traditional elements in the space. While I've separated the spaces, it is one big space, and I needed to have connectivity between the two. And so I've got the window at the front end of the space, and I've got this window on the side. I did make the decision to keep the drapery the same because it still feels like one large room, and I think it was important to have that connectivity. And again, it kind of makes the room feel a little bit more cohesive with the pattern mixing and the, polarity of having the African motifs with the traditional Southern motifs, and it just makes it make sense to have it in both places. So I'm definitely an entertainer, and that means having all the things that allow you to be able to entertain people. So this bar cart, I went really old school on the bar cart. There are lots of bar carts out there, and there was a time during my blogging days where bar cart styling was all the rage. I went old school because I really liked the functionality of these more traditional vintage pieces. This one actually has a drawer on the front side that I can store napkins and any accessories in. It also has a leaf that I removed. Well, it has two leaves actually. So it extends to be a table. They're in my garage right now, but if I ever need this to serve as a server in here, I can go grab those and just literally screw them back in. And then it gives me the space to have lots of glassware on the bottom, and then to have all of my alcohol and accompaniments up top. And so this is a piece that is a staple in the space. Again, continuing with the kind of African global motif. I found these fans while out shopping one Saturday for a client project, and thought they would be super cute positioned over the bar cart situation here. They tie back to some of the natural elements I have, like the baskets, and they just give the space a more worldly feel. Because my home is not huge, I had to rethink how I needed to orient things to accommodate all of my belongings. I am an entertainer at heart, and I like casual entertaining, but that requires lots of things to feed people on. And so one of my collections is dishes. So I knew I needed a china cabinet. My kitchen does not have the space for a china cabinet. Like I mentioned, this was originally supposed to be a dining space. So I just kind of brought the kitchen into this area and purchased this French style china cabinet, had it painted out. I actually had it for years unpainted. And then I think it was during the pandemic, I actually had it painted black, which I love. It's definitely style specific, but I honestly have kept it because it has so much storage. It's hard to find a more modern piece that packs as much storage as this does. And so I've got bowls, I've got soup tureens, I've got glasses, I've got flatware in here. My grandmother's Fiesta ware collection is in the bottom. You know, I've got drawers for napkins and napkin rings and placemats, you name it, is stored in here. And I love the functionality of it. It also kind of reminds me of the furniture I had growing up as a kid. So it's a little nod to the past. So in the base here, I have my grandmother's entire collection of Fiesta ware. So growing up, my grandmother loved the colorful pieces in the Fiesta ware collection. And she said that she remembers in the 60s when they came out, and she always wanted them. So when she got older, I think I was probably a teenager at the time, she started buying them set by set. So like every few months she would go to the department store at home and buy a set in a different color. And as a color lover, I absolutely adored those dishes. So when she passed away, I inherited her collection and have since added a lot to it. But in 2021, the collection was featured in Country Living magazine, and it's kind of a pride point for me because I know she is probably looking down, very happy that I have acquired her collection, but I also was featured in a magazine for it, and I actually use it. So that's Grandma's Fiesta ware. I've always been a creative. Even as I look back to my childhood, I was the kid who had the best room in the house. My friends would come over and I would like organize their things so that they wouldn't be a visual distraction. Fast forward to college, I had the room that they toured prospective students through. I've always been that girl, but my career kind of took a different path. My parents were educators and they kind of steered me in a more reasonable profession, and I ended up becoming a dietitian, and I worked at a Fortune 500 providing food service management. And I did that job and I was great at it and I loved it, but all the while I always had this creative knack for home. And that grew over time, and it certainly grew as I purchased this home and started to really nest and make it my own. And it kind of sparked something in me. So I took a different job at the same company, got off the road, decided to take a little class at the junior college in interior design, and I'll be honest, the rest is history. That started me blogging 3 times a week. That meant that I needed a name and a domain on the internet and a social media page. And before I knew it, I had clients reaching out. So I made a strategic plan to pivot in 5 years, and I did just that. And so as I look back, it probably was a divine order that I land in this career, but it's something that's been in me for a very long time, and I couldn't be happier to be doing it for a living. We are here in my guest bathroom. From time to time when I'm entertaining, sometimes the guests will sleep over. And I love having a space where they can feel comfortable and have all the things that they need at their fingertips. So I've not done a full overhaul in this space, but I have made a couple of additions that really elevate it and make it feel a little bit more special. For starters, I've got this Ralph Lauren wallpaper that I took from the walls to the ceiling, something that I actually just ran into at the Habitat Restore. I think they were $5 a roll, which is insanity. So it was kind of a I couldn't pass it up moment. So I've wrapped the room in that wallpaper. It's kind of a palm leaf motif, and then really just changed out the lighting, added a new mirror and some original art pieces from some of my artist friends, and it really just feels a lot fancier than it actually is. I've got a floor to ceiling, just about ceiling, shower curtain that again just draws the eye up and makes it feel a little bit more dramatic. And then anytime I'm having guests over, I want them to be comfortable. I want them to have everything they need at their fingertips. I've got some Serena and Lily towels that I just love. They're super absorbent, super soft. I've kind of got the set an overnight guest would need with the hand towel, the washcloth, and the bath towel. And then I love these items that add a little texture to the bathroom, like the tissue box and the little canister and the tray that houses a bathroom spray and a candle. And it's just those little bitty things that make it feel a little bit more special and a little bit more decorated. I think guests appreciate the extra thought and effort put into spaces where they reside. I would say my style is what I call Afro-Southern. I really feel like your home should be a representation of who you are. It's how we approach our client projects, and it also is how I approach designing my own home. So I am equal parts African American, but I'm also a big time bona fide Southern girl. And so I love tradition, I love heritage, I love history. And so my home is a combination of antiques and vintage pieces with things that are a little more feminine, with flourishes and classic details. And then I've kind of layered on top of that this global feel that really harkens to my roots. So there's a lot of texture and textiles and nods at African culture that are juxtaposed against something much more traditional. But I like that. I feel like it makes it unique and it makes it very personal for me. How about I take you to the kitchen next, because it is one of the spaces that I love so much, but it took me a long time to get to. And in 2020, I actually did a complete overhaul of this space. There was an online design challenge that I participated in, so I had full sponsorship, and I really picked this space apart and determined what I needed, how I needed it to function, and did the space from top to bottom. So let's start with the cabinets that I did not paint because I intentionally made a choice to keep my honey oak cabinetry from the early 2000s when the home was built, and I knew it would be a non-popular decision, but I am very much into a home being what a home is. And this house, in fact, was built in 2001. So I wanted to let it be what it is. It's a bungalow, it's cottagey. It was built in the early 2000s. It has honey oak cabinetry. And so instead of painting something that I'd have to upkeep and keep repainting with the day-to-day use of wear and tear, I also would have that disconnectivity from the flooring in the living space to the cabinetry in the kitchen. I decided, what would it look like if I kept this color on the cabinets. And so I created an entire color scheme that would highlight and complement the honey oak that I had going on in this space. So that landed me with orange and blue. So I knew that the cabinetry had this warm orangey undertone. And so instead of fighting that, I really leaned in. So I picked a complementary color for the backsplash, and I took it all the way to the ceiling. And that blue juxtaposed against the warm wood really started to make it look intentional and less dated. And so I used pops of orange on the drapery, which kind of helped me to expand the color scheme with some golden yellows, you know, an artwork that has some of those colors. And it really came together. So at that point, I needed to think about how did I need the space to function. This originally was a cabinet, just a floating cabinet that you see in most builder basic homes. We ripped that down. I got a local woodworker to make floating shelves as close to the honey oak finish as possible. So this is actually white oak that will over time become a little bit more warm. And so I displayed some of Grandma's Fiesta ware here, put a couple pieces of art, mounted a light, did a cornice because I'm a classic girl who loves some fabric. So that was an opportunity for me to add another dose of fabric here. We upgraded the countertops. I did like a quartz with some warm veining, changed all the hardware, added crown to the cabinetry, displayed my collection of blue and white. I originally had this island, but it did not have an extension. So there was no ability to sit here. So I thought if I could eke out just a few more inches, I could have 2 bar stools sitting here. And so that's exactly what we did. I did opt to paint the island just to create a little bit of contrast. So we went with Sherwin-Williams moth wing here on the island. I extended the edge of the island so that I could accommodate 2 stools. I went for broke on color on the stools just to give you that jolt of fabric and color. And I sit here, honestly, more than I sit at the dining table. And so it's still those functional things that I'm really into, because at the end of the day, you can always make a pretty space, but a space that really supports how you live is so much more valuable. One of the other things that I did in this space is I really assessed, how do I use the space? And one of the things that I love to do is watch TV while I'm cooking. And so I had this random single cabinet that used to live up here converted into a cabinet that houses my TV. And I knew I wanted the ability to be able to close it off to make it look pretty when I needed it to look pretty. But on the day-to-day, I cook and watch TV. I drink coffee in the morning and watch the news. So it made sense. I don't have an open concept home, nor do I want one. So I love the idea of having that functionality of being able to watch TV in this main living space. It just made so much sense. So I love that addition. People are most intrigued about these upholstered doors. This is my laundry closet, which I dare not open, but this houses my washer and dryer. And I'm like, okay, we're decorating this space. We're making it look great and grand. How about let's do some upholstered doors? And so we literally did a panel over these doors, covered it in Revolution Performance fabric, added some fabulous hardware from our local friends, Addison Weeks in Charlotte. And I've got something that looks far more grand than a laundry closet here. The dining space is actually where I added the most color in selecting this really rich orange floral as drapery. I really was able to add a pretty significant dose of color, especially for a kitchen, without painting the whole kitchen out a color. So I absolutely love the drapery. It's what started the entire color scheme, in addition to the orangey oak cabinetry. Coco's got a toy now. So I did drapery in the bay. I did drapery on the side here. And then I pulled some of the color out of that drapery onto a banquette. That's from my first licensed furniture collection. I've used that here. It's performance fabric. All of these are actually performance fabric. Huge fan of that. And so I've done 4 dining chairs, a vintage Duncan Fife table that I got in an estate sale. It has a leaf. Actually, it's multiple leaves. There's one in here now. I think I get rid of that one for Christmas so I can have my have a tree here. And it just is a cozy dining space. It houses your friends when they're over, when you're doing some casual entertaining for a smaller group. I use the island as a buffet, and people can sit here at the island or they can sit over here. And honestly, once they get nestled in this little nook, it's kind of hard to get them to leave. So I love entertaining, and I love all types of entertaining. It's rare that I have a super formal event, although I have. More likely than not, it's a lot of ladies. And we're doing something that has some sort of theme. I think the last event I had was a Galentine's Day gathering where we had a makeup artist who came and did a demo on how to do a smoky eye. And I think the menu for that was like, you know, hors d'oeuvres kind of thing, drinks, you know, some sort of fun Valentine's Day cocktail. And we usually have people congregating here, eating. Like I said, I usually use this as a buffet. And it's really kind of more casual, but it tends to be a lot of people. And sometimes we spill out into the patio, but I love entertaining with a theme. And I usually do kind of go all out with the theme. I've done tea parties. I've done movie night in the backyard. So it usually tends to be a little bit more casual, less formal, but something fun that people get really excited about getting dressed up and coming to. One of the questions that we ask our clients when we first meet with them is, who are you? And it's one of the things that they kind of look at us like we're crazy and scratch their heads a bit. Because I think it's something that people don't assess a lot. But in my mind, your home should be the truest representation of who you are. If you like music, your home should kind of tell that story. If you love color, your home should tell that story. If you love to read, you love books, you love to entertain, I really feel like our home should tell our stories. And so the easiest way to get to your own personal style is to take a self-assessment and figure out, who am I? Like, what's my thing? What do I love? I love fashion? You know, am I a person who wants it clean and calm and minimalistic? I like that kind of soothing space. I feel like those are all cues at personal style. So often we look outward to determine what our personal style is, when I really feel like we should be looking inward. So it's not about trends or, you know, what's on social media, what we've seen, what we've pinned. It's more about, how can I create a space that I live in that is a reflection of me. So in 2020, when I revamped the entire kitchen, I needed a space that could serve as a drop zone. My back entrance from my garage is here. And when I come in, this is where I land. And so I had this little bitty corner that previously just had a coat rack on it, or a coat hook. And I thought, how can I really maximize this corner and make it more of a style statement and a function statement? And so I decided to wrap the corner in wallpaper that kind of speaks back to the tile selection in the kitchen. And then I had electrical added here so I could have a lamp, so that when I come in the evening times, this lamp is on. I've got little bowls that corral my keys and sunglasses, and garage door opener. Obviously, this is where my security system is functioning from. I've got flowers from the garden this time of year. And then underneath here, I've got garden boots and Crocs for the garden. And it really just is where I house all of the things that I need as I'm leaving the home. And this has honestly been one of the most functional additions to my entire house. I absolutely love having this space, and I think it's a really good example of how you don't need a lot of space to add a lot of function. I think when it comes to decorating my own space, I'm somewhere between loving it and hating it. I love to be surrounded by nice things, but I am not one of those people that changes things a lot. I don't move my furniture around very often. Once I find a piece that I love, I am more likely to keep it forever than to change it just for the sake of change. And so because of that, it means that while my home has evolved slowly, I still have a lot of the things that I moved in with that are part of my cherished story here. And I don't have any reservations about that. You know, I think being an interior designer gives me that outlet to scratch that itch that I need to do things that are fresh and new in other people's homes. But as far as my own goes, I'm about the small tweaks and the refinement and the additions that make it even more your own versus just changing it to get the latest and greatest. Now I'll take you to my private quarters. So this is my master bedroom. It's right off the entry, and it is my place to relax and get restored for the next day. Again, in keeping with the theme, function first. I'm a girl with a lot of stuff, and so that stuff has to live somewhere. And so I'm constantly trying to find the balance between how do I have the functionality that I need, but how do I make it look good? And so that, I feel like this bedroom and the bathroom are really good examples of that. So, for example, I have lots of bracelets, lots of jewelry in general. And so I just kind of made them into a decorative moment. So these are all of my bangles. And I'll be honest with you, having them on display means I actually wear them more often because I'm not forgetting what I have, and I'm able to select the piece that works the best for the outfit that I have on. And I just kind of love having them out. And they don't feel like clutter to me because they're positioned in a way that is aesthetically pleasing, and they give me extra storage. So similarly to the bracelets, I've done the same thing with the necklaces. I know it looks like madness, but there is a method to the madness. I kind of have things grouped in categories. We've got the pearls on one side and the more global things up here, the colorful things in that corner. And there's just something about having them displayed and within arm's reach that allows me to be able to wear them and enjoy them more often. So in 2015, I revamped my bedroom, and it was all stemmed from this fabulous find at a flea market in town. And I had been shopping this flea market. I think it was open once a month. And one market, I saw this floral fabric that something about it, I was drawn to it. It was like polished cotton. It was old school. It had a floral motif, and I couldn't get it out of my mind for like a month. Well, I started to Google it, and I found it online and realized it was Schumacher's Pine Hollyhock. Like literally iconic print. I had taken a picture of it the month before at the antique market, and it had like 20 yards on the bolt, and I think the whole bolt was like $45. If you know what Schumacher's Pine Hollyhock is, you're probably croaking right now. So I had to wait weeks before the market opened again. But when it did, after I realized what I was looking at, I was there when the gates opened. I beelined to that booth, And thank God that fabric bolt of 20 yards was still sitting there. So I purchased that fabric and I took it to my upholsterer. I told him, let's do a headboard. I designed a headboard, and that became the focal point for my bedroom refresh. So I did the fabric on the headboard as well as the bolster. At the time I did it on a throw pillow. And then years later, I still had yardage left. I decided, well, why am I not using this? Let's do a cornice on both of these windows with that same fabric. And I promise you, if I had enough, I'd also have drapery. But I might have to pony up and purchase some more because I still love it. All these years later, I still love this print. It's just the perfect combination of neutrals, and it's super serene, and it gave me a jumping off point for a paint color, for bedding, for accent fabric. I love it. I'm a hunter and gatherer when it comes to shopping, and so I found this actually Pottery Barn 8x10 rug. I think it had a flaw at some point somewhere on it, probably hidden underneath my bed. But I decided I wanted kind of a layered rug. So on top of my carpet, I actually have this graphic print rug, this kind of medallion trellis motif. And I've had it for years and it still works. And so I still have it. I also, again, I'm a girl who loves a wing chair because they just have maximum comfort. Something about being able to be nestled in a chair and having a place to put your head back that I really like. So I picked this up at that same antique market that's open monthly, that used to be open monthly, and recovered it. And it's just a super cozy seat to have your morning coffee in. And then I obviously have a TV in my bedroom. I've got it on this upholstered table with a couple of extra ottomans tucked beneath. Just gives me an opportunity to play with pattern and texture and color. And upholstery, again, just gives that warm and cozy feel. And of course, they function as additional seating if I need to move them around the house. So I love a bedroom with a fireplace. And obviously, I didn't have one. So years ago, these were the hot ticket. There are so many more options now, but my parents bought this for me for Christmas. I don't know how long ago, but I still use it to this day. I've actually changed the firebox in it, but this electric fireplace in the winter, especially in the beginning of the winter when it's not quite cold, you just need to knock the chill off in the morning. I love this thing. It's on a remote control. I can't tell you how many people come in here and think this is a real fireplace, but it's not. It's electric, but it totally functions for me. I've positioned a piece of vintage art that, I don't know, something about it just resonated. And like I said, when I find something that I like, I tend not to replace it if I don't have to. And so this is a piece that I've had for years. And it's just kind of leaning here. Got my girl framed, my bracelets. It's just a nice little area. And you can't have a home without a full-size mirror. I've got a couple in my home. This is the one that I probably use the most. My closet is inside the bathroom, and so I often come here and have outfit trials in this mirror. This is a vintage one that I got at an antique, a estate sale actually, and I love the shape of it. It's special. It's super heavy, and I probably will have this forever. My absolute favorite space in my home today is probably my bathroom. It took me 16 years to check it off the list. I just finished renovating it the end of last year, and it is my happy place. It's where I start every day. It's where I end every day, and I designed it specifically for my own personal needs. I'm a bath girl. Give me all the bubbles, give me the candles. I want all the pretty things, but I also want functionality. And I feel like that space checks every single box that I needed to. And I get to experience that day in and day out. And it just, as an interior designer, it reinforces the value of getting those things right. And honestly, it helps me to be able to deliver that same thing to my clients. So it's by far my favorite. Now let me show you my absolute favorite space in my entire house. This is my principal bathroom. So it's been a little less than a year, but recently I decided it was time. It was time to completely overhaul this space. And so I knew function was going to be super important here. I knew I wanted it to be stylish, but also very serene and calming. I'm a color girl who has a lot of pattern everywhere, but I needed a place to decompress, and this became that space. So, where to begin? For starters, I have a shower tub combo. And that can be a bit of a design challenge in this day of freestanding tubs and standalone showers. So I'm a bath girl. I'm a person who uses my bath every day. And I knew I needed to make that shower bath combo work, but look elevated. And so one of the things that I was able to do was to use fabric or textiles to really elevate the look. So we went floor to ceiling with the shower curtain. We did a valance at the top, and the functionality is kind of hidden behind this faux panel here. And I'm able to just push the shower curtain back and hide it completely and still get the formality of having floor to ceiling drapery on the shower. It also gives me a great view of the accent tile that I've done here. It really makes this area to have that pattern go all the way to the top and to frame out the tile work as art. So there were a lot of elements that make this bath super functional. One of the things that I needed was storage. And so I went with custom cabinetry that packs a lot in the way of storage. I have a tower here that goes from the countertop to the ceiling, and it houses any number of my things, personal effects that I use on a daily basis. I put a plug inside of the tower so I could easily tuck my curling iron inside. I've got makeup storage. I've got a pull out around the plumbing underneath to really maximize the storage here. Lighting also plays a really big role in the space. Originally, I had one ceiling fixture and a vent and a vanity light. And I really wanted to be able to have lighting to shift the mood of the space by day and by night. And so I added the sconces here on the mirror. I added a mirror to reflect on the side of the tower, which you get both the front view of the sconce, but you also get a side view of the sconce. I added a overhead ceiling chandelier that is a semi-flush mount that drops down a little bit into the space, and it's also on a dimmer. And so that allows me to kind of, play with the mood in the evening time. I've got a vent that has a light that is LED, but that also has a Bluetooth speaker. So I can play my music while I'm in the bathtub. And then I added a recessed light inside of the shower. And so there are multiple layers of lighting just in this small bathroom. And I can't tell you, that was probably the best investment I made in the space because it really allows you to have the lighting you need when you need it. One of the pain points in this space before I renovated was the fact that my neighbors live right outside this window. And so I hated the idea of having to open and close this shade with them looking at me if they happen to be on their back porch enjoying the day. So I opted for a top-down, bottom-up, motorized shade on this little tiny window, and it gives the most functionality because I can still get the lighting in the morning without having to worry about whether my neighbors are about to see me in the bathroom. So it was a really great addition that adds functionality, and it's super pretty, but it solved a really big problem that I originally had. And I love this so much. It's the little things. I really feel like pieces that are meaningful, whether that's art, that could be furniture, it could be collectibles, things that have a story, to me make a home come alive. If I can walk into a home and ask, what is that? What's that piece of, tell me about that piece of art over there. Or, oh, I love these dishes. Where did you get those? There's usually a story attached to that. And for some reason that gives a home soul to me. It's less about, oh, they matched the color scheme, so I picked it up. Or that wall just needed something and that fit the bill. I feel like people should be more intentional about selecting things or acquiring things, or maybe getting heirlooms or antiques from family members that are passed down that have meaning and that help tell the story. So one of my favorite places in my home is outside, especially this time of year. So I am a little bit of a gardener, and spring is the best time in North Carolina. So I've got a mixture here of containers that have flowers, and then I've got my perennials that are in beds that kind of flank this brick patio that I use so much. So I've got string lights that I've taken from the tree here back to the house to give me evening ambiance. And I've got another bed here that flanks the brick patio where I've got some hydrangeas. And it's just fun to see what's blooming. There's a cornucopia of things that I've planted over the years that are perennial, that come up each year. And I absolutely love awaiting what's going to bloom next. One of my absolute favorites is actually over in the corner, and that is my prized peonies. They just happen to be blooming right now, and it is the best time of the year if you ask me. To add more functionality to this little bitty covered space that I have in the backyard, I decided that it would be a great idea to add motorized shades that I could literally close off and let down and have a space that's completely enclosed in the evenings or when the mosquitoes are out of control. I absolutely love this tiny retreat. It's so nice. It's shaded. I've got a mini ceiling fan in here, and it really added so much functionality to my outdoor space. If I had to pick one element that I like most about my home, it would probably be its size. I feel like it is just big enough for me to feel alone, but it also is not overwhelming. It's got a coziness to it. And it has all of those functional things I need, like the garage and the backyard and the fence and the front porch, that make it just the right size and scale for me. Home is a refuge, a dwelling place. It is comfort, it's relaxation, it's rest, it's restoration. I feel like it's where I come more than anywhere else that fills my cup. You know, the day-to-day grind, especially of entrepreneurship, is a lot. And having a space to come home to where I can just breathe is worth every penny I've spent to make this home my own and still spend to pay for it. I feel like it's probably the best investment I've ever made.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Arian. Welcome to my home in North Carolina. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Thank you to Serena and Lily for sponsoring today's episode.
Hi, my name is Arian Bethay. I am owner of Dressing Rooms Interior Studio, and you're in my home in Charlotte, North Carolina. We've been living in this house for 16 years. It's a new build, and I live here with my husband and my dog, Minnie. We moved here from Boston, Massachusetts 16 years ago when we had this home built. So the style of our home is what I would call the builder's version of a craftsman style. Inside, it's 3,100 square feet. We have 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and we have what we use as a lounge, and which used to be my home office. And then we have a TV room where we watch movies because I really love movies. I'm a big Marvel fan. So Dressing Rooms Interiors is my vintage store. I sell vintage lighting, art, and decor. I started originally online with an Etsy shop and $300, and went to the largest yard sale and kind of just bought things that I thought were popular. I hadn't curated my style at that point, and so then as I started to sell, as I started to shop in antique stores and estate sales, I started to curate my eye. So the more you shop in those stores and flea markets, the better your eye gets. And so I started developing a style. And so I started purchasing pieces that I loved, just in case I had to keep them, if they didn't sell, I can incorporate them into my home. And so over the years, I sold on different sites before opening my own store, and then ultimately actually closed that store last year because I was selling more online. And so now I'm back full circle to back selling online. So it's been a wonderful journey. I've actually added my own line of lampshades, so those are coming out any moment. I'm waiting for the arrival of them, and so I'm really excited about that. So we've decorated the house in not really a style, but it's pieces that I've collected over the years, things that I've inherited from my grandmother and my mother, and so it's really a mix of vintage and new. Welcome to my entryway. One of the first pieces you'll notice in my entryway is this vintage hutch. It hides, or shall I say, displays my magazine collection. I love magazines. They give me tons of inspiration, and I have some vintage ones in here from the 1960s, and I also have some current ones. I would love to say that they're in order of date, but some are and some aren't. Also peppered in here are pieces I inherited from my grandmother and my mom that I really didn't have space for, so it makes a great display for those pieces as well. This piece used to live in my office, but now it lives here, and so I do actually use these magazines. I pull them out, I sit in my office, and I go through them. One of the things that I do learn every time I do that exercise is that nothing is new. Right? Everything has been done before, and it's just good to see how people used to do it back in the 60s and the 70s. In front of the hutch, I have this Maitland Smith mirror. It's a vintage piece. There's a lot of like square lines going on here. I have this mirror above that's also square, and so this round element breaks up all the square elements going on here. So right when you come into my entryway is this tiger rug. It's actually had it custom sized for the space, and it's commercial grade. So doesn't matter what gets spilled on here. I've actually spilled paint on here. and it comes up really easily. So it also brings in all of like the animal motifs that I have going on in my home, and actually, you know, I kind of dress sort of like I design. Because of my time in New England, living in Boston, I love molding. So we have great picture molding. That was one of the things I added to the home was crown molding. We have double crown, and we also have picture molding below and, you know, throughout the space. So I love heavy moldings. I love color, particularly red, but this is a orangey red. It's called Salsa by Benjamin Moore, and I actually found it on a advertising kind of card for Benjamin Moore, and I wanted to use it in my space. And you'll see this color in another room that I used it in, and so I thought it'd be fun to pull this color from, it's in my powder room, it's also in the painting over my fireplace, and it's in draperies, and it's in art. So I've used this as kind of like a pull through in all of my spaces. And so I have this door painted and also my garage door painted the same color. So behind the door, I have a gong. It's a vintage gong that I hung back here. It's just a fun element. I mean, you can announce somebody's coming and hit the gong, but it's just a fun element that I thought would be appropriate behind the door. So we have a small entryway here, and so I have been able to use color and pattern to kind of give you a sense of what you're going to expect as you move through our home. So we have these drapery panels that were actually, I used those in a show house that I did, and they happened to actually work in the home. So that wasn't intentional. I just kind of love this colorway, and so I was able to use those here. And then these chairs are a part of some chairs that are in my home office. And so I was able to bring the pattern from the drapery again in the chairs and kind of give this space a punch, so to speak. Also in the entryway, there's not a lot of storage in the house. So I collect brass planters. And so I use the top of the hutch as a display for those. And so I use these. So I pull them down. If, you know, I put ferns in them. I put different, you know, flowering plants in them. I have a couple of vases that I use. So I use them, I put them back. So this is kind of working storage. I love using color and pattern in my home. And actually that's the first thing I selected when designing the home is the paint colors. So I wanted to figure out how the house would feel. And so that's kind of where I start with all my design projects is how do I want to feel in the space? And so the first thing I always select is the paint color. And then I build from there. It's been a really slow process of designing the home. I don't kind of just, you know, pull out a magazine or a Pinterest board or anything and just kind of start plugging things in. I like to discover things and find things that work, find pieces that I love, find things when I'm traveling. So it's been literally 16 years of designing the home. So I would consider myself a soulful maximalist. I'm a really ruthless editor, because there's like a fine line for me between it feeling like a store and feeling layered. And so I really try to restrain myself from adding things. So if I'm adding, I'm subtracting. I do move things around all the time because my eye needs to see something new and different. I love fresh flowers, so there's always fresh flowers in the house. But yeah, I would say I am a maximalist. I love the layers of color and pattern and texture. And so, yes. So now I'd love to show you my home office. It is right off the entryway. Let's take a look. The first thing you'll notice is color, right? I told you I love color. And so the first thing I picked in here was the wall color. And it's Frambrose by Cheryl Williams. I use all brands of paint. If I love the color, I will use the paint. And so what I wanted to do here is create an office that didn't really feel like an office. And so I wanted to be surrounded by inspiration, be surrounded by art. And so I have a shield here, which I jokingly call myself a huntress because I'm always on the hunt for vintage finds. And so that's here. I have some of my awards displayed here, some coffee table books that have been signed. And again, the drapery repeats itself here. So like I said, I love original art and vintage art, and this is a vintage piece. I can't remember the year of this one, but I saw this piece. I was on Instagram following the Makerista, and she was in an auction house in, I can't remember state, Kansas, and she was doing kind of like a tour of what was going to be in the auction. And so this piece, not this very piece, but let's just say this piece showed up, and I was like, oh my God, because like I said, I was planning this space and I needed art, and I know I wanted a big piece that was going to go across these moldings, and I didn't know what it was going to be, and I wanted it to find me. I like things to find me. And so I saw that piece and I was like, oh my gosh, that would be perfect. I didn't know what I was going to put here, and I love the tension of the black and white against all these other patterns. Plus I love animals. And so fast forward, the auction happened. I totally forgot about the date because she was doing a preview. And maybe 3 weeks later, this piece showed up in a consignment shop here in Charlotte. And it was not the same. I actually I was interviewed by the Kansas City auction house, and they asked me, they were like, did you get that piece from us? And I said, no, it actually showed up here in Charlotte. So it's kind of serendipitous. I was supposed to have it. I was supposed to see it, and I was supposed to have it. So that's the story of that piece. So this space was originally supposed to be my dining room, but I needed a home office. And I've always imagined a banquette here. And so this banquette from Ballard Design was the perfect scale for this area. And I paired it with, this is my grandmother's table. And I had it, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I had it in storage for about a year. It was in bad condition. And then I cleaned it and found this fabric, didn't have it, found the fabric, and it all kind of came together. Like I said, I like to find things or have things find me, and everything just kind of fell together for this space. So when I closed my shop, I had to incorporate some of the things from my shop office into my home office. And so one of the things is this bulletin board, which I keep all thank you notes. So if you've ever sent me a thank you note, it is here. I love them. I appreciate them. And so most of these are thank yous or congratulations or some sorts. And I have I was growing up, and this is where I pull a lot of the color. So the front door color, I pulled it from here, and you'll see it sprinkled throughout the house. It's also a color that's in my powder room, and you see this color again in my home office as well. So this is a really expansive space, and so there was dead space above the fireplace, and I found this mirror actually at Goodwill, and I thought it'd be perfect up here to draw your eye up to illustrate how tall the space is. And so I had my husband put it up there. I wasn't going up there, but I had him put it up there. Now, my husband loves my use of color and pattern. We actually went to a store the other day, and it was all like grays and taupes and beiges, and he was like, is that all they sell? Or do they have things online? They don't have any color in there. So he's like really used to spaces with color. And so he loves it. He loves that I move things around, and he loves our home. So this coffee table is from Bernhardt. I really wanted a round element in the space so that you can walk around it without sharp edges. And I wanted to bring in more gold. There's touches of gold throughout, so I wanted to bring that in as well. And it's generous enough on the top that allows me to display my coffee table books, more animal motifs, flowers, and all the things. So I used ottomans in the space to pull in color, to pull the color down onto the floor. And so these are vintage ottomans that I've had recovered in different fabrics. This fabric is actually the same fabric that is in my home office, so that kind of ties that in as well. And then this is in a colorway that is similar to the painting. So I'm just trying to bring the color down onto the floor so that it's all kind of dispersed throughout the room. I like TV. I'm not ashamed of it. I don't need to hide it. This TV is actually really old. We bought this TV when we first moved in. It still works, and I'm not getting rid of it until it dies. But and so I surrounded it with art. Actually, this is photography from our honeymoon in Hawaii. So I took these pictures and I had them blown up of these trees that were on the beach that I was mesmerized by because I can walk under the roots. And then, and I just displayed it amongst some vintage art. That's a juju hat. That's an Indonesian piece. That mask, and then this is a vintage picture of bamboo. So just to balance out the television. The chairs are custom vintage slipper chairs in a cotton mohair. And I got these pillows from Swank Interiors, which is in Charlotte. And they've moved around. Like I've had them in my bedroom, and then I've moved them out here because I like to move my things around. And so these work really well because I don't have a lot of space, and they don't have any arms, and they're generous. The seating is generous for them. So I found the side tables at a consignment store, and I had them turned into lamps. Now, they were originally for sale. Even the woman at the lamp store wanted to buy them. And I brought them home, which is a no-no. Just to see them, and I fell in love with them, and my husband saw them and was like, why are you selling them? You should keep them. And so voila, I kept them. And I also had custom tortoiseshell shades made for them, and so yes, so I ended up keeping the lamps, and I love them. So for my personal sense of style, I'm really influenced by the 1960s era. I love the women from that era. I love the clothing, I love the furniture. It's actually one of my favorite periods of art, which I discovered as I've been collecting that usually the pieces that I love that are abstract or oils are from the 1960s. So that's really, I love that period. So as you can see, our family room is very open concept, and it leads right into our dining room, which we used a round dining table because that's the best use of space for that. And we also have this area right off of it where we kick off our shoes because it's really near our entryway for the garage. And so this is kind of where we take our shoes off and put our bags at. And the feature wall here are these African masks. And the fun story behind these are, a friend of mine knows that I love to collect masks, and there was a collector that was getting rid of their collection. And I reached out to them and set up a time to go meet them, and I got pneumonia. And my husband had to go in my place, and he went, and him and the couple spent the entire day together. Like, they loved each other. The collector was downsizing, and their children didn't want the mask anymore, or just didn't want the mask. And so what he had done is, behind each mask is labeled with the date and the country that they were at when they found the mask. They traveled all throughout the continent of Africa and picked up different masks. And so originally I was going to sell these because, you know, I sell things, but my husband loved them. And I loved the story behind it. They wanted him to spend the night and stay for dinner and all the things. And but I ended up keeping them and displaying them here. So here on my left, we have a buffet, which you'll notice it's the same material, the raffia that's in my office, and it's perfect for a buffet for dining. So I can remove all these things when we're having a dinner party. But otherwise, it serves as display for my pieces. And in here, I would love to say that there's china, but there's actually mail and gloves and electronics and all the things that need to be hidden, because again, we don't have a ton of storage in our space. So it's a very functional piece for the dining room. Again, I have more faces displayed. This piece is from my grandmother. So it's a ashtray, but it's I think it's a Patasi ashtray. My grandmother didn't smoke, which is funny, but I have a ton of different kind of ashtrays that I inherited from her, and I have a lot of books about Black women and photography, and so I have, you know, one of those displayed here, and then again the African and the Asian influences can be seen in the masks that I collect here. And this particular mask is from artists in Canada that I just happened to find on Etsy. I was looking for something else and came across this artist, and so ended up purchasing a piece from him. So again, I love, like I said, faces, and this one I got at an estate sale. There was like a moment in my collecting that I was like, I need to find more busts, and then more busts started to find me. And so I love this piece. I think it was on a pedestal, and it wasn't a solid pedestal, it wasn't sturdy, so I just took it off and I just kind of laid her here, and this is where she's been for a number of years, because I've moved her around, but I just really love the simplicity of her just being right here. I am not the table setter host, okay? I don't do these elaborate tables. I'm more of a buffet, like I'll have all of the things out for you and you kind of serve yourself. I am not, although I appreciate a well-decorated table, that is not, that is not my forte. So when someone walks into my home, I want them to feel relaxed, but I also want them to feel inspired. They should also see there's a lot to look at. So there's a lot of travel that we've done over the years. And so there's a lot of pieces from our travel, from collections, coffee table books and things. So they'll really get to know what we're interested in, because I purchased the types of books that, you know, art and decor, photography. I really love photography. So you'll see photography around the house. We have a lot of original art, which is vintage art. Some I inherited from my mom, some I purchased on my own. And so they should feel that it's a very personal space. So now we're gonna head into the kitchen. The kitchen didn't originally look like this. We had it redone about a couple of years ago, I think in 2022, 2021. It was maple cabinets, I had them painted in this black color. I had new backsplash added, countertops, and faucet and sink. And so it had a little bit of a facelift and new lighting as well. What I added to the kitchen that I kind of love is I added photos of my mom and my uncle and my great grandfather. So, because I really love to cook, and so I feel like they're cooking with me. I don't have a lot of other photos of family displayed around the home, but I kind of concentrated them here so that they're with me when I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking and using their recipes. And so that's kind of a special point for me in the kitchen. So above the stove, I added a little piece of art. I love like unexpected places where you find art. And so I added this piece. It was actually in my office, in my shop, and it's protected by glass. So if anything spills or anything, you know, from this cooking pops on it, it's just fine. This used to be closed storage, and then we added the glass for display. And so some of these are from wedding gifts when we got married, and then that's pottery, that's original pottery. And then I have some of my favorite tchotchkes here from my mom and my grandmother, and then here are dishes that we use daily, and then some vases along the top that I pull out when I have a lot of flowers. I don't have a signature dish, but I love like ethnic foods. So I'm mainly cooking, I have like a Moroccan dish that I cook. I have Italian dishes, Mexican dishes. So I'm really like all over the place as far as like types of foods that I cook. I'm not frying chicken. I don't do that. So right off of the kitchen, we have our powder room, which I decided to infuse with color. It's my little jewel box. And so, again, you'll see that color, that salsa from Benjamin Moore. This is where I decided to use it and got the inspiration to paint the door. And I have a gallery of art. Some I've collected, some are prints, and some are from my mom, some from my grandmother. And so they're all kind of displayed here. It's a fun little space that people aren't expecting when they come into the powder room. I also added this custom sink skirt that I bring in some more color. And it's the same pattern that you'll find in my office, in the chairs. So it kind of brings that pattern through. And so it's a really fun space. The word home means refuge. It means my place of peace and serenity. It's like a warm blanket. It's where I can be myself, where I'm surrounded by things I love, around my ancestors, because I've inherited so many of the pieces in my home from my family. So it's just, that's what home means to me.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, visiting the home of interior designer Alexis Pauling. Alexis lives with her family in a gorgeous home with transitional touches and bright pops of color. Born and raised on the Upper East Side of New York City, Alexis developed a love for beautiful architecture and design from a young age. Her aesthetic is founded on classic design principles, blending color, texture, and pattern to create smart and energetic living spaces. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Alexis. Welcome to my home in Charlotte, North Carolina. Come on in. Hello and welcome to my entryway. Here we are in the main vestibule, and I would call my style transitional here, really throughout the house, but you can see a good example of what the whole home offers. I love mixing styles. So to me, transitional means modern art, modern color, pops of color, happy color, mixed with vintage and antiques. We have a Louis XVI dresser here that's by Maison Jansen, and it's one of my most prized possessions. I love it. And then overhead, we have beautiful artwork by Marcy Cook, who's one of my favorite artists out of Texas. This is a commissioned piece, and she walks you through the whole process. I fully trusted her to do what she wanted. I just mentioned some favorite colors. She also used some, this is a collage, is the medium, some clipped butterflies that from a wallpaper that I have. It just really added a personal touch. I think that the art really exemplifies what's to come in the room. I have a ceiling that we painted high gloss. It's fine paints of Europe, and it just adds that nice quiet touch. It's still white, but it is a beautiful, elegant touch. I have another painting of Marcy Cook over here, and the colors really speak to me. It's more in a graffiti style, but mixing modern with antique and vintage gives friction to a design that make it interesting, chic, and timeless. So this mirror in my entry is probably a 7-foot custom mirror, and it really adds a pop and a wow when you walk into the entry. It's just fun and playful, which I love. The upper right quadrant, as you can see, is yellow, and it's a bit of an off color. I like when things don't match perfectly or where they come from nowhere. I don't really coordinate yellow throughout my house. It's just very fun and playful. The rest of the mirror, as you can see, is just antiqued, and it's simple, but it makes a big impact. So we moved into the original home that was here on this plot in 2010 when my oldest daughter was 6 months old. It was a gray-green ranch, 1951, and we lived in it for 10 years. It was very functional, especially when we had small children. But I always had thoughts of what the home could become, and of course, 10 years later, I learned exactly what we needed in a house. We're located across from a park, meaning that we have no neighbors across the street. It's really a one-of-a-kind property, and I don't think that I could have found a better location if I tried. So when we were interviewing builders, it was sort of a 50-50 if this was going to be a tear down or a renovation, but we learned that tear down was the way to go. Being that the home was a half a century, there were many issues that we had with the home already. So Mills Elog was our contractor, and we built new in 2019, and we moved in 2020. So we've been here for 4 years now, and it's everything that we need the home to be. It's really perfect for our family. Now I'd love to show you my pink den. Follow me. This is our pink den, and it's probably one of the most playful areas in the house. My inspiration for this is heavily impacted by chinoiserie everything. Starting with this amazing wood chest. It has a little bit of a story. It's the one antique piece in my home that has some personal family meaning. I grew up with this in New York City on East 72nd Street. This was my parents' sideboard in the living room. It was actually my great uncle and his wife were traveling in China in the 40s, and he had this made, he purchased it, and it was sent back to America, where it lived in his home in New York City until they moved to Florida and passed it on to my parents. I also love these two Gracie panels that are framed beautifully. They're vintage and they're pretty fantastic. It goes up to the 9-foot ceiling, and I think it's really impactful. I love the colors. So what I've done here is use the Philip Jeffries grass cloth, which is a very warm and again, a bit of an off-color pink. And I've painted the crown and the trim a same matching pink. And I think that that really adds to the warmth and sophistication of the room. In addition to the custom trim, I have a matching Schumacher fabric on the drapery with Samuel & Sons trim, which is pretty fabulous. Everything's quiet and understated, but again, packs a punch. It's elegant but chic because of the trim color matching, windows included. Some other favorite pieces that I have here are the oversized gold mirror that's maybe 8 feet tall. And I like to buy many items at auction. Some of my best finds are from auction, including this marble pedestal that is from the 18th century. So I change it up. I display art, modern art, sometimes plants. But it's a fun room and it's elegant. So actually the intent of this room on the architectural plans when I designed this was for a formal dining room. But that's just not how we live as a family. Again, I have 2 young children. We have a large table that you'll see in the kitchen that serves as everything. It's our breakfast table, it's our art table, it's where we have dinner. I don't feel the need for a specifically, fancy dining room. So this became our pink den. It's just an extra sitting room. It's a great room to have a baby shower, which I hosted a few weeks ago. It's a great place. Actually, this is where I put right in front of this window where we set up the Christmas tree. So it's a really lovely sitting room, and I think I appreciate it more than having a dining table. My favorite lighting in the entire house, I would have to say, are these Kelly Wearstler sconces. These are huge chunks of white quartz, and they make me so happy. They are chunky, they are happy, they really make an impact. I also have this beautiful light chandelier from Circa. It's one of my favorites. It hits that fun balance between playful, classic, feminine, and girly. I want to show you something that's hiding out a little bit. It's a really fun architectural feature. I have pocket doors everywhere, and they really work well for a quiet, understated door close for when you might need privacy or quietness during a party. I'd love to show you my bedroom, but on the way we have this fun transition of the office. We actually walk through the office. We have a hidden paneled door. Here's our bookcase. It's painted in an amazing color of Pharaoh and Ball, but we started with a color and then we amended it slightly to make it brighter. This bookcase has a lot of my loved items that I've collected over the years. I'm interested in chinoiserie, shells, crystals, family photos, mementos, brass items, shell-encrusted anything. So this is a fun and really beloved showcase. I have these great library lights above with stars on the back plate. So something that ties in the color in this room, the amazing paint is saturated. I also love this rug. It really highlights the color. It goes really beautifully with it, again, in an off sort of way. These chairs I picked up at my favorite local vintage store. It's called Slate Interiors, and it's vintage. These are worn and loved by somebody else, and they came to me with a perfect patina. The ceiling is another interesting feature. It's wallpapered. It's definitely a 5th dimension. It's a 5th wall. It's Holland and Sherry, and here's a really fun visual comfort chandelier as well. Now I'll take you into the bedroom. Follow me. Welcome to our primary bedroom, located on the 1st floor. This is a light and bright space. I like to keep primary bedrooms a bit on the feminine side. I actually chose a color other than pure white for the walls, just because I want it subdued, I want an oasis, and I want it to be relaxing. I love pink, I love blue, I love feminine, and I actually own 3 dogs. And this is specifically for them. It is a pleather bench so that they can hop on up with ease. And also this rug is a great rug of hiding a myriad of sins. Typically, I love to use a chandelier in a bedroom, but usually there's one partner in a marriage that requires a fan, so we have a fan. I kept the furniture light and bright. They actually have acrylic base, which just adds to the feeling of lightness. I have this beautiful chaise that I sit and have a cup of coffee I go on my phone in the morning and read newspapers. Here's a great little perch for coffee, and I have a view of the park across the street. So one of my favorite possessions in this room is my children's silhouettes. We have Finley on the bottom, we have Logan on top, and I worked with a lady and I found exactly the Pantone color that I wanted to use. It was a paint chip that I had her print out the silhouettes. I love them, I think they're fun, in addition to the rippled frame. A feature that I love to have over beds, often I find, is the sunburst. I love everything that a sunburst stands for. I like the energy, I like the classicism of it, and I love that just burst of gold and reflection. I think it adds to a lot above the bed, which is overall a very quiet room. Another feature that is a work in progress is my pagoda cabinet, another purchase from Slate Interiors. And I had my friend Holly of Renew Home Charlotte spray it in the perfect white, and I got wallpaper for the back panel, and I also had it electrified. It's not styled, it's not as I want it yet, but it's a work in progress, and I think it's going to be a beautiful addition. Connected to the primary bedroom through this vestibule is the primary bathroom. I actually chose quartz for the countertops just to be safe, but the floor and the shower are marble. It is clean and bright and white and functional. I provided myself with a little vanity, which I use daily. I have a lovely vignette of collected and gifted silver from my mother and a picture of my girls. I've simply tied in a very simple hydrangea color towels and accents, Wedgwood vase, and that's really the only source of color along with this vintage piece of art. Now I'd love to show you the powder room that's right off of the primary bedroom. It's accessible to the main area of the home. So this powder room is just fun. It's a little jewel box and it makes me really happy. The wallpaper is called Queen's Flight, carried by Schumacher, and it actually was designed by Barry Benson of Peg Norris. It's just fun. It's wallpaper of birds and butterflies. So this is a really fun cabinet. It's just a floating cabinet, holds everything and more that we could need for a small powder. This is Modern Matter hardware that just is the cherry on top. I love Modern Matter. Again, a bit of a chinoiserie slant here with the mirror, the lucite and gold mirror. And then these sconces are pretty sensational. I love them. I love the light and the directional light that they give the wallpaper. It sort of casts a highlight on the paper. Directly next door to the powder is the bar area. So this is a really fun, open and inviting bar area. I sort of want guests, I love guests to help themselves. It is painted a really magnificent, high gloss, fine paints of Europe, teal color. So it's fun with a pop of crystals on the poles. These actually are from Modern Matter as well. Showcase my glasses, and artwork behind is always a fun way to perk up a space. And again, with a chinoiserie ginger jar. These are also very fun lights by Visual Comfort as well. And I just love the play of colors. All of these off colors really work for me. I love to host parties. I love to have people over in a very casual, informal, and fun way. People come over often, and it's lovely to be able to make a drink, and then we come right on into the dining room. This is where we host parties, and this again is our one and only table that I was speaking of. I chose, for a few reasons, lucite chairs. They are easy, they are wipeable, it's something you don't need to worry about. I think people need to think about that when they have children and just practicality of life. Either you care and you love patina and stains, or you don't. I apparently do not. So I think that this actually, they add a really nice touch, a light touch to the area. This table seats 10 or 12. And we host all holidays, parties, just had a baby shower here last weekend. And it's a really fun, relaxed place to be. I think maybe because it's not a formal dining room. This actually was not the original light that I placed in our home. This is a visual comfort Talia chandelier in a linear form. It comes in a few different types. And I love how it's airy, it's playful, it's energetic, and it looks beautiful lit from inside and outside. I have my tablescape set very simply and elegantly. I love chinaware and dinner plates. I have bought quite a few of them on auction. Live Auctioneers is one of my favorite resources, as well as Cherish. But this Rose Famille plate coupled with the Janori china is really a summer tablescape. And then some silver items that my mom has gifted me. I have a fun salt cellar with seahorses. You can either fill or not. And these actually are crystal champagne flutes from Etsy that I found on Etsy that are mid-century. Again, we have a couple baby ginger jars. I change up what's actually placed on the tablescape often, of course. I don't repeat. I have many table cloths. And one of my favorite things to do is just have it filled with candles. It really adds to the element. My kitchen is open to the dining area. And it's really just open, simple, white, inviting. I have these great oversized fixtures. I tend to like lighting to be larger than smaller. It just makes more of an impact. These happen to be from Hudson Valley. One of my favorite ceramicists. This bowl and the organicness. Obviously, I don't have artichokes all the time, but I do put fruit and lemons and plants and flowers in there. That makes me very happy. So for the countertops, I selected quartz. I actually added a waterfall quartz element, as well as I continued it up the backsplash in the back, just for a continuous, quiet, but again, impactful moment. This was a custom hood. It is zinc and brass. And I actually chose to have chrome in the kitchen. A lot of clients often select gold, 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 everything from hardware to lighting, but I actually like to mix it. I find it's a little bit more interesting. Again, I love to cook. I chose a great range. My children are in here all the time. This is our main location. This island is really where you can find us a lot. The girls do homework, they do art here. We obviously have our meals here. And it's a really relaxed kitchen that I think is comfortable, but it's put together. It's a really relaxed kitchen that I wanted to be inviting and just easy to be in. It's an easy place. It's open to the dining room, and it's a very comfortable place to be. We're here quite a lot. Welcome to my living room. Here we are. It's one of the few rooms that I painted in a different color. It's actually gray owl. It's very soft and relaxed. I have a set of very oversized sofas here by row, and I want this room to be very casual. It is not a formal room. I want people to be able to come, kick up your feet onto the sofa, wrap yourself in a blanket. We have a fireplace that we use all the time. It just sort of adds to that cozy ambiance. Apparently I have a very happy bird of paradise in this window. As you can see, he's just about to pop all of these leaves. He makes me very happy. Plants, I think, are a wonderful addition. Of course, flowers are as well, but plants are really just a natural and organic element that add to the home and the ambiance. I have a very slim console here with a great wood grain, and I change up my display often. I love my Wedgwood and I love my crystals. I have a double layer glass coffee table, and I just display and use, I actually flip through my design books often, and I just collect a few little crystals down below. Two of my favorite elements in the room is this large painting. It's oil on canvas by Kelly Pelfrey. She's really amazing. I love the colors and the energy and the whole vibe in the painting. Sort of set the tone for the room. Another element that I have is this coffered ceiling. I thought that that added quite a bit architecturally to the room. It added to the coziness and the overall feel. Another fun element in the room is this Corbett lighting chandelier. It is pressed glass, and the movement created by the pressed glass really gives an organic feeling to the whole room. So I love to have a natural element in all of my rooms. I fell in love with this quirky and huge orchid. I've never seen anything like it. His root systems grow up. It just made me happy, so I purchased it. And then over here, I have a little area, again, with more shells and a beautiful antique brass little tray, and one of my favorite lamps by Kelly Wearstler. And now I'll show you my locker area right off of the garage. So I've created this locker area with ample storage. All four of us, including my husband and I, have an area to just put our bags, backpacks, dog leashes, etc. I have this fun Worlds Away chest with lucite pulls. I added a glass top actually for protection because kids throw their water bottles and anything else that they might have. This is a visual comfort, small little petite metal shade lamp that I like a lot. And I have some vintage brass torchieres, I think they're called. I think function is paramount when designing for clients. Reality is reality, and they have children, they have messes. Everyone needs somewhere to put things away. So I love closed doors. It really serves its function and purpose. And it looks good while it's doing all the work. And connected to the locker area is our laundry room. So obviously function is paramount, but I've tried to make it fun with palladian blue cabinetry. And I have hanging area. So we have 2 dog crates, even though we have 3 dogs. Truly, they're not often used. I thought that they would be, but of course our dogs want to be with us and we want to be with them. We have a little fig tree that's never produced fruit for me, but it's also very happy in this sunny oval window. I have this great Ushak rug that just adds a pop of color, and it goes beautifully with the palladian blue. I added brass pulls in here. I think it just highlights and ties in nicely to the glass chandelier fixture. Home is your sanctuary. It is your safe place and haven for your family. Home is a reflection of your personality. As soon as one hits the front door, I hope that someone is conveyed my personality and my thoughts and my feelings, and maybe even my viewpoint. Well, Homeworthy, thank you for stopping by and taking a tour with me. I hope you enjoyed yourself. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.